This is my presentation of the cooperative learning model. So the cooperative learning model has 4 learning theories that all work together to create this model. This is the motivational theory, social theory, cognitive theory, and behavioral theory. The overall plan and coherent approach or assumptions for this model are that the teacher's main role is to serve as the facilitator of the students and the academics of social learning. The teacher can take the role of facilitator only after they directly establish the setting, structure, and parameters of the group task. And the model begins with directed instruction, then becomes very indirect as the teams are more engaged in their assigned tasks. The teacher is the key person to teach students for reflective processes and social learning and monitor for the application of those processes, where actually the teacher must seek a balance between that social and academic learning goals. The process of social learning is just as important as the academic products of learning. Some learning assumptions are that cooperative structures promote higher levels of social and academic learning in individual rather than competitive structures. Groups can, will, and must work cooperatively to achieve personal and shared objectives. Team learning works best when groups are heterogeneous in all factors and when the same groups are maintained over several class periods or an entire unit. All group members have something to contribute to the achievement of the group's goals. Learning tasks must specify criteria for individual accountability, and all members' performances must count in the team's assessment score. Social loading can be, but is not automatically a part of the group process, and parameters must be stated to ensure that all team members contribute to the group's achievement and that groups can organize themselves to pursue and complete an assigned task. The order of learning in domains and priorities and domain interactions within the cooperative learning model is that all 3 domains are not interacting linear with each other. They actually have a reciprocal relationship so that learning in any one domain is dependent on learning that is occurring in the other 2 domains. So for example, if you're going to focus on the psychomotor domain, you have to ensure that students in each small group have good interpersonal skills and good problem solving abilities so that there's reciprocity occurring between all the domains. The reciprocal relationship is actually the basis of this entire model, and the important design feature of the model is that the process of learning is just as important as the products of learning. So, some specific standards that are strongly and consistently aligned within the cooperative learning model are standards 4 and 5. However, standards 1 and 2, if the teacher is going to design team learning tasks that promote concepts and performance, can also be strongly aligned within the cooperative learning model. There are some student developmental characteristics that are needed for this model, such as student readiness, the student's potential to contribute to the team's success by applying themselves to the best of their ability. Um, and then also that each team member is actually ready to learn cooperatively. If students are not willing to apply themselves, then it shows that they are not ready to use the cooperative learning model. And similarly, the students that are going to be receptive to the cooperative learning model are students who are classified as participants, collaborative, competitive, and independent. The students that would like to work and be collaborative and be participants in the group are going to be really receptive to the model because collaboration is key to the process needed for each team to be successful. The students who are more competitive are going to be receptive to this model because they're going to be able to accept challenges, possibly have occasions where they'll compete against other teams in the class, and then be challenged by some difficult learning tasks. And then independent students will like this model because the model has little reliance on teacher direction, and it also is characteristics so that the team's relationship with the teacher has a lot more independence on the team's side. The instructional theme for the cooperative learning model is that students learning with, by, and for each other. This theme sums up the main design of the future of the cooperative learning model, where it acknowledges that students will need to interact with one another in positive ways so that they lead to achievement in academic and social outcomes within the model. It also recognizes that a lot of the teaching is done by the students and is in a peer-based process. The cooperative learning model can allow students to understand current and upcoming events dependent on student interactions, teacher contact section, and whether the teacher and the student show readiness. The teacher is going to be selecting the content that would be used and presented for the students to take part in this model. Therefore, teachers can include events that are upcoming and they can include any current events within the content. Similarly, student interactions can have a play because students can present prior knowledge and current knowledge in order to talk about current and upcoming events that might relate to their group's work and in conversation and in group interaction. And then the students and the teacher both have to show readiness by being willing to cooperate with each other and to talk about current and upcoming events during the model. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any reason to talk about the current events if the students weren't open to it. The unique technical language for teachers in this model is that the teachers have more control on content selection, managerial control, and task presentation prior to the students actually working together in groups. And they also are able to help with the pacing in the task progression before the teams are all together. However, it is more reliant for the teaching to occur during the students' control, and that way they're all in their teams. They're able to work on that engagement patterns and instructional interactions, and then the teacher is there just to facilitate the pacing and provide that real time communication, feedback, and anything that they might need to help to keep that pace going for each group. The model can be validated by research validation, craft knowledge validation, and intuitive validation. And this chart kind of tells you a little bit of how each of those validations support the model. The valid assessments of learning this model can be applied from each of the three domains, such as in the psychomotor domain, you might want to use time completion of an event or task um, to help and assess a student or a student's group. And then in the cognitive domain, you may want to use some scoring rubrics that have the parameters for what should be produced and also have some clear descriptors of the levels and characteristics that you're looking for. And then teachers can also provide some scoring sheets and written reports by the teacher. And then in the affective domain, an example of an assessment would be to have a team keep a log of their work and all of the positive and negative interactions and instances that occur throughout the model. The unified framework for teachers' decision making is that they are aware of their learners and the learning theories involved. They are going to look at that task analysis and content progression prior to implementing the model. They are choosing developmentally appropriate instruction during presentation and using the model appropriately. The assessments are valid. They are establishing and maintaining a positive social climate on teams, and they are having appropriate physical education content and understanding content, choosing content that they understand and know, and then that there is equity within the gym. Research that supports this model. There is a lot of research that supports the cooperative learning model, and it is currently been in a lot of research studies for the past 3 decades, where it summarizes the benefits in both general education, but then also a projection of how it could be combined into with tactical games, which would promote cooperative learning model in PE. These are just some of the research that I found within the textbook, and there is a ton more. But if you would like to take a look, there's some by Dyson, some by Casey and Goodyear, and the years that these studies were done ranges from 1995 all the way up till 2015. And in conclusion, the cooperative learning model strives for true balance among outcomes of all three domains. It shows that PE teachers must understand group learning versus cooperative learning and understanding that the difference between the two. And cooperative learning model emphasize planning and presentation of learning tasks by the teacher. and is very student-centered after the planning is complete. It requires teachers to implement real-time communication, observation, and decision-making skills. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope that you're willing to try this model within your classroom. Thank you.